It was the 4th century, and almost all the world's bishops had succumbed to a heresy that denied the divinity of Christ. Saint Jerome summed it up with a phrase that has remained famous. The whole world groaned, realizing that it had become Arian. All seemed lost, yet the faith was saved, not by numbers, not by the majority, but by a handful of men who refused to remain silent. By the end of this video, you'll understand why that 1600-year-old story is returning to us today and what it teaches us about what's happening now. Let's start with history, because history is the key here. In the 4th century, a priest of Alexandria, Arius, began teaching that the Son was not God like the Father. The error seemed a subtlety. In reality, it struck at the very heart of faith. If Christ is not God, all salvation collapses. Yet the idea spread like wildfire. Within a few decades, much of the episcopate embraced it or tolerated it for the sake of a quiet life. Entire councils approved it. Emperors supported it. Those who resisted were isolated, exiled, and treated as fanatics. The most famous of these was the Bishop of Alexandria, Athanasius, who was exiled 5 times for his loyalty. From this, a saying was born that has endured through the centuries: Athanasius against the world. One man, or almost, against an entire hierarchy that had lost its way. For years, Athanasius was slandered, deposed, forced to flee into the desert among the monks. He was accused of being the problem, the rigid one, the divisive one. The same accusations that, coincidentally, are still heard today. Yet he didn't give an inch, and above all, he never left. He continued to repeat only one thing: that Christ is God, as the Church had always believed, nothing other than the faith of all time. And how did it end? It ended with truth triumphing. Not immediately, not without suffering, but it triumphed. The faith defined at Nicaea in 325 was confirmed, and Arianism vanished. Keep this lesson in mind, for it is the crux of everything. The faith was not preserved by the majority. It was preserved by a faithful remnant who remained within the Church, never leaving it. Now, let's return to today, because that dynamic, the rest that endures while many remain silent, is happening again, and we hear it in an ever-growing chorus of voices. Let's listen to them one by one, in their exact words. The first is that of Cardinal Raymond Burke, one of the Church's most authoritative canonists. After a recent consistory organized using the so-called synodal method, Burke didn't mince his words. He said, "We must insist that this whole synodality thing stop." And he added a reason that weighs like a millstone. The very life of the Church is at stake, and the salvation of souls is at stake. Then he hit the nail on the head. There is no definition of synodality, nor is there a history of it in the Church. These are the words of a cardinal, not a blog. The second voice is that of Monsignor Athanasius Schneider, and here's a detail that almost makes you smile. He actually bears the name of Athanasius, the defender of the faith. Faced with the excommunications currently plaguing traditionalists, Schneider forcefully warned that it would be an enormous error of rigidity, a gesture that will go down in history. He went further. Repressing in this way is not at all synodal, and those consecrations are in no way schismatic, because those who perform them profess the Catholic faith. He's not a rebel, mind you. He's a bishop who asks the Church for mercy instead of one-sided harshness, exactly what a pastor should do. The third voice comes from Africa. It is that of Cardinal Robert Sarah, a man of prayer and silence, certainly not an agitator. In her new book, 2050, Sarah uses harsh words. She calls gender ideology and Islamic extremism apocalyptic beasts. Beasts, he says, who seek to destroy the family, humanity, and the very image of God in man. And he denounces a paganism that has even resurfaced within the church. It's not about stone idols, it's about something more subtle: the loss of a sense of the sacred, discomfort with the truth, the liturgy reduced to spectacle. And his is not the voice of an exalted young man. It is that of an elderly man of prayer, who has endured persecution in his country and knows the price of faith. When he speaks, one should listen. Here, then, is the chorus, with its three voices in unison: Burke on synodality, Schneider on excommunications, Sarah on paganism. Three men, three continents, one alarm. And they're not the only ones. Other cardinals and bishops are saying similar things in different tones. This isn't an isolated whim, but a concern that rises from below and pervades the entire church. And here, the parallel with Athanasius arises, because even then, there weren't many of them. They were few, isolated, given up for dead. Yet they were right, and history has proven it. History, as we know, never repeats itself exactly the same, but it often rhymes, and the question becomes inevitable: will these be the Athanasiuses of our time? But be careful, because here we must be very precise, lest we fall into the opposite error. We are not saying that the Pope is like the heretics of his time. We're not saying this, and we never will. The Pope is the Pope, and anyone who turns him into an enemy is just as far off as those who remain silent out of convenience. The point is different and deeper. It's the same old dynamic. When a confused current advances, faith is preserved by those who have the courage to speak out. And like Athanasius, these men speak from within. None of them left the church. None denied the pontiff. None proclaimed themselves a separate church. Those who, disillusioned, break away and form their own church do not imitate Athanasius. They betray him. Because Athanasius fought for unity, not against it. Faith isn't saved by counting heads. It's saved when someone, even a minority, has the courage to speak the truth with charity, remaining faithful and staying within. And this should give us not anxiety, but hope. Because if the chorus of these bishops grows, it means that the Spirit has not stopped inspiring courageous pastors. What do you think? If you liked the video, comment Amen. God bless you.